Okay, I think I'm live. Let's see. If it's live and y'all can see me, my apologies. Okay. All right, so we are officially live. First off, Grand Rising family. I hope that you are well. Happy full moon. Much love and light to y'all. Let me set up so I can be able to see everything. This is very, very random. So let me go ahead and put this in the wellness community that I am live, y'all. This is such a random live. Um, Hold on one second. Peace, family. I'm putting it in the wellness community that I am live uh, so that they know. I try to give the wellness community a heads up. Hey, Robbie. Robbie is already in here. Hey, Lakeisha. How you doing, Grand Rising? Much love to y'all. I just put in the wellness community that I am live. Y'all, this is so random. I really didn't plan on going live. Hey, God Fumes. Hey, Aaliyah. Hey, Ree. How y'all doing? I didn't plan on going live this morning, but because I'm actually gonna go live later tonight. Hey Hope, I'm gonna go live later tonight with a black man to talk about spirituality and all that good stuff. But I was just doing some work this morning on my laptop, typing up some stuff, and I really was just contemplating. So, like I said, happy full moon, family. I hope that y'all enjoy the full moon energy. The full moon peaked at 1:22 a.m. this morning. It's a full moon in Pisces, which brings a lot of clarity, a lot of introspection, and this is a harvest moon, a form of a harvest moon. So it's known as a corn moon, right? So the corn moon is the name that the Native Americans gave this full moon. And I shared this in the wellness community and gave some clarity, but I'll talk about it a little bit publicly as well. So the corn moon is the name of the moon the moon phase that we are in right now. It's a corn moon, a full moon. And the Native Americans named it the corn moon because this was the season that they would harvest the corn in particular. So the corn moon is a form of the harvest moon, but the actual harvest moon that is named the harvest moon is next month. So the harvest moon is the first full moon of the fall or autumn season. And they call it the harvest moon because that's when they would be able to harvest their abundance of a variety of crops. This particular moon was known for harvesting only corn. So that's why it's called the corn moon, but it is a harvest moon. Now, the significance of a harvest moon is that it is a very karmic energy. It's a lot of reap what you sow energy. So during this time, we want to be mindful of the energy that we are putting out there. We want to be mindful of, everything that we are releasing because it will be returned unto us abundantly. So this full moon, y'all, my AC just came on. So if it's loud, I'm sorry, but I hope that y'all can still hear me clearly. But it's too hot to not have my AC on. But this full moon and any harvest moon is a time that you really want to be mindful of the energy that you are putting out because it will be returned unto you abundantly. Okay, so you really, really want to, mind your karmic energy right now. And I wanted to go live, you guys, because as I was typing this morning, I'm doing some work and literally like, got a notification that Chrisette Michelle was live. And I love Chrisette Michelle. Anybody who knows me knows that she was one of my favorite artists, still is one of my favorite artists. And she went live this morning. And I normally don't tune into her live sessions as much. Lisa Woke, I just saw your email. I'm doing a few readings and then I got you, sis. But, anyway, Chrisette Michelle was live and she was talking about how Black women enter rooms, and sometimes or most times when we enter rooms we lead with our trauma, and that's something that she was talking about this morning. And it's interesting because as we go into or as we dwell within this harvest moon energy, because once again this full moon is a corn moon, which is a harvest moon, and then the next full moon will also be a harvest moon, and then October has two full moons. So I'll talk about that in October, but that's a big deal. So a lot of manifestation energy is happening right now. And with this Pisces full moon, it's a lot of introspection, which introspection gives us the opportunity to do some healing work within ourselves so that we can increase or enhance our manifestation power. So I want to start off by saying, number one, really, really take this opportunity to be introspective and to really, really do some healing work within yourself and find a healing focus area, right? what is the focus area within yourself that you want to heal? I truly believe that healing is a lifetime journey. It's a lifelong journey. We never stop healing because healing is how we grow, right? As you grow, you will always find something within yourself that you want to get better at, that you want to improve upon, right? So it's going to take some healing work to make those improvements. Um, with that being stated, something that I like to do is I don't like to overwhelm myself by trying to heal multiple things at one time or work on multiple things at one time. I like to have a healing focus area, right? So sometimes it may be a spiritual increase or spiritual growth where I may decide, you know what, I want to do something different in my spiritual practice. And that's actually was my last healing focus area. I wanted to add something different to my repertoire. I felt like spirit was calling me to try something new. So I went to some of my elders, and they was like, I've been thinking about you, and you need to start working on this. And I started working on that, and I'll share that with the wellness community next month in the October newsletter, and we'll work on it as a collective. But so this month, I really was like, getting doing some introspection, doing some work, and I started working on it yesterday, and really like being introspective and asking myself what will be my next healing focus area. And I was getting signs of confirmation of what it needs to be, but then boom, this morning Chrisette Michelle, she goes live and she's talking about like essentially Black women leading with their trauma. We walk into a room oftentimes and we lead with our trauma. And sometimes we don't even realize that we are doing it. It's just something that we do. Um, and she spoke about how, sometimes we make ourselves seem small in order to make others comfortable. And honestly, you guys, that is something that has been coming up for me over and over and over and over and over very recently. The idea of, I find that as a Black woman, and I'm just being fully transparent. So, like I said, this is a very, very random live, but it's something that, I really was contemplating heavy, heavy, heavy. And then she went live and I really was thinking about it even more. And I really wanted to share this with you all. So this is going to be me being 100% as always, but 100% transparent about my healing focus area and how I got to this point. So I feel like as a Black woman, I have been conditioned, and we as a collective are conditioned to bend. We're conditioned to bend. We're conditioned to compromise. We're conditioned to be flexible, to make other people comfortable. Whether if it's minding our tone of voice, minding certain things that we say, not showing up with too much attitude in certain environments. Whether it's catering to other people and nurturing other people, which is a good thing, but can also be unhealthy if you are doing that for others and not doing it for yourself. So I find that sometimes I'm in spaces where I'm bending, and I'm compromising. And I realized that over time, because I've been bending and flexing and I've been compromising and doing these things that, even when I don't agree with something, even when something doesn't make me feel good, I was willing to compromise in order to make the other person comfortable. And previously, I talked about the power of setting boundaries and how we have to set our boundaries. And when someone crosses your boundaries, you want to have consequences for when your boundaries are crossed, right? And I shared with you all how I realized that I was setting boundaries, I was communicating my boundaries, but what I wasn't doing was I wasn't implementing consequences for when my boundaries were crossed. Therefore, I was coming across instances where people who I thought were friends, people who I thought loved me and cared about me, they would cross my boundaries again and again and again and again. And I would bend. And our bending looks like being understanding. It looks like, compromising. It looks like, rationalizing other people's actions or wrongdoings. That's what bending would look like for me. And are those things wrong? Absolutely not. But it becomes an issue when there is not reciprocity. It becomes an issue when the sentiments and the compromising and the empathy and the consideration and the understanding is not requited. You know what I'm saying? As Frank Ocean said, that unrequited love is a bad religion. And I realized that I was committed to being understanding and compromising and having empathy for people who were not doing the same to me in return. And I also realized that I was giving a lot and people were not asking me to. So, and when I say that, you guys, honestly, I think this is something that a lot of people, but especially women, we do. We've been taught to, once again, to nurture. A lot of us have been conditioned to cater. We've been conditioned to care for. And because that's what we do, oftentimes you may not even realize it. I know I definitely didn't even realize that I was being super considerate. I was being super careful to make sure that other people around me were comfortable. And to the point that I wasn't even considering what I wanted. I wasn't even considering what I desired. I would oftentimes bend to make others comfortable, but in really, I'm breaking myself in a sense. And I thought that I had gotten better with that, and I have gotten better with that when it comes to setting boundaries. But what I realized was, and I hope that this is making sense. I hope it's making sense over time. I'll probably talk about it again when I get even like a little more clarity for myself, because once again, this is like my healing focus area right now and my growth area right now. But essentially, yeah, I realized that, I was stepping into spaces and my first that's just how I was. Like I would show up, and as a healer, as someone who does healing work, I would want to help and I would care for and I would cater to and I would nurture. But sometimes, you guys, what I'm realizing is I don't have to always do that. I don't have to always show up in that way and be that person, especially in situations where that sentiment is not requited. And not saying like that healing energy is not requited, but the respect is not requited, where the consideration is not requited. You know what I'm saying? And I'll give like an example where I had a friend, and I don't want to say names, but I had a friend, and this person, was in a situation where they needed support and they needed help, and without even asking me, I was just giving resources and helping out and helping out and helping out, and then I was in a situation where I asked for the same in return, and they was like, no. They blatantly told me no. And yes, Orange Moon, overly accommodating. They blatantly told me no. And I didn't understand. Like I'm like, but you don't remember? Like I just did this for you. You don't remember? But before I even said that aloud, I once again being introspective, and this is very recent, being introspective, I realized like, but sis, they didn't ask you. You can't require somebody, and I think this is the lesson. You can't require somebody to return something to you or to give you an energy that they never asked you to give them. They did not ask me to be considerate. They did not ask for my help. They did not ask me to support. I just gave it. I gave it and gave it and gave it. And I constantly give and give and give because, once again, that's just who I am. And it's not a bad thing. But what I am realizing is that you cannot hold people accountable for something that they do not ask you for. You cannot hold people accountable for something they do not ask you for. So that's number one. The first thing I'm working on is being mindful of how much I am giving, how much I am giving. And not just like within my relationships or within, my family relationships, friend relationships, or anything, how much I am giving in general, like really doing self checks within myself and asking myself, is this something that I desire? Do I desire to give right now? Do I desire to cater right now? Do I desire to nurture right now? That is like the new boundary I'm learning to set within myself. Because once again, I recognize that I was bending and bending and bending, even when I didn't want to, even if I was tired, even if I felt like I couldn't do it or didn't want to do it, I would do it anyway because it was just like, okay, they need it, or it would be helpful, or I have the capacity, so let me just break out of my tiredness, or let me break out of my low energy, or let me just flex my desire in order to help this person or to make this person more comfortable. And that's me bending. You know what I'm saying? That's me bending. So my focus area right now is, as I said, number one, if they do not ask, but my spirit leads me to do it anyway, then I will do it. But something that I want to work on is separating my mind telling me this is the right thing to do versus my spirit telling me that this is the right thing to do. Because there is a difference. There is a difference, family. I always say, as a spiritual person, we should strive to be spirit led. I think I talked about that in the wellness community in the Patreon when I posted the September newsletter. And I think that's in the September newsletter, how we should always strive to be spirit led. So, and that's a life's work, really, a life's work of separating the mind, body, and spirit and emotions, right? So, something I realized that I wanted to do was, hold on one second. Something I realized I wanted to do was definitely like, do that work to separate when it comes to giving, separate my mind telling me to give and my spirit telling me to give. Because what would happen is I would feel guilty. I would feel guilty. And I think somebody just said that. Somebody just brought up, oh, Tamika. Hey, Tamika. Tamika said, I am so guilty of giving to everyone and forgetting about myself. I will often suffer to give to anyone in need. Saying no to my loved ones is an issue. Absolutely. And I was in that space and still struggle with that. When I talked about the divine feminine, I talked about that in my follow up for the divine feminine, which was really, it was a tip for you all and also a reminder for myself of, something that I have to not do is I have to nurture myself first. You know what I'm saying? Like when you tap into your divine feminine, we have to nurture ourselves first, and then we can nurture other people. And what I'm realizing, you guys, is like I oftentimes still will put other people first. And I will give, and even without them asking. So this is the thing I feel like we do a lot. Especially, my sisters, we do this a lot. We'll say, oh, I give so much, I do so much for everybody else, and da 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 da. You'll say that, right? I've heard a lot of sisters say that. But the question that I want all of us to ask ourselves is, but did they ask you? Did they ask you? Before we point the finger, once again, this is a Pisces full moon that leads to a lot of introspection, a lot of self digging and self work. We should always look within, right? That's separating that ego from that spirit, which I'll talk about in another live. But we should always be introspective. When you feel like you've reached that point where you have given, and you're tired of giving to everybody, you're tired of doing everything for everybody. When you feel like you've reached that point, you got to be introspective and ask yourself, how did I get here? How did I get here? When you start feeling used, you start feeling taken advantage of, you start noticing that the love that you're giving is unrequited. You're not feeling reciprocity in your relationships. You genuinely have to ask yourself, how did I get here? And I have come to realize that the way that I got there was that I was giving. And once again, they were not asking. They were not asking. So I got to look at me and ask myself, why, when I show up, why do I feel like I have to give? Why is my first response always to give, and to save and to heal? And of course, as a healer, in which I always say, I believe all of us are healers. If you don't know what your purpose is in life, I'm telling you now, your purpose in life is you are a healer. You just have to find what is the tool that you use to heal people. What is the mechanism? Think of it as a doctor, right? We have different types of doctors. You have orthopedic doctors. You have all kinds of doctors, neurologists, all kinds of general surgeons, family practitioners. We are all healers. You just have to find what is your tool, what is your mechanism to heal, which I'll do another live about finding your purpose. But because we are healers, often we naturally have that divine feminine and that sacred masculine in us, but sometimes we suppress our sacred masculine, which is, once again, that sacred masculine is that logic and that reason. We suppress that and we go into overdrive in our divine feminine as a healer. And that's when your empathy kicks in, or my empaths, where you feel all of this energy, right? So you hit that empathy kicks in, that compassion kicks in, that understanding kicks in, that nurturing energy kicks in, and you become a giver, and you just give and give and give, and you compromise and you bend and bend and bend. And I didn't realize that I was this person, you guys. I did not realize that I was this person. I thought that I had gotten better. I thought that because I learned how to set my boundaries, that I had gotten better. But what I've come to realize is I have gotten better, but I still got more work to do. I've gotten better with setting my boundaries, communicating my boundaries, having consequences for my boundaries being crossed, but I still got more work to do. And the work that I have to do is not just having consequences for setting my boundaries, but I need to communicate my desires and my needs before it even gets to a point where there's a disagreement. Before it gets to a point where my boundary is pushed and then I state my boundaries. I recognize that I'm the type of person who I'm not clear, because I'm not clear about my own needs and my own desires. My boundaries would get pushed and then I would state what I needed and what I desired, right? I kind of just was assuming that people knew what I needed and what I desired because I was giving that energy to them. That's what it is. I was giving that energy to them. So I thought that they would know what I needed because it's the energy that I give to them. I thought that they would know that I appreciate consideration, I appreciate empathy, I appreciate compassion because I give you that energy, right? But then when they don't return it, I didn't understand it. But what I had to realize is, I said this in another live, I have been loving people in my language. I have been loving people in my love language, and we cannot do that. We cannot do that. We have to love people in their love language. In a sense, it's selfish to love people in your love language. I have been loving people in my love language, right? So, and because of that, I was just expecting natural reciprocity. But what I'm realizing is that I need to communicate my needs and desires in a way that is not showing you through how I love you, but actually explaining exactly what it is that I enjoy and exactly what it is that I desire and exactly what it is that I need, and asking them what is it that they need. And if they request it from me, then giving it, as opposed to just giving, giving, giving without request. So my focus areas right now are open communication about my needs and desires, which is good. That's a big one because that's going to take me doing the work to identify what do I need and what do I desire in various relationships, and clearly stating that to the people around me. So that's probably going to be some journal work that I do. I'm probably going to do some journal work within this full moon energy, because so with the full moon, you have 3 days after the peak of the full moon to really, really hone in on this full moon energy. So within these next 3 days, I'm going to journal and do some inner work to decide or to figure out what is it that I truly need and desire in various situations and various relationships in my life. What is the best way to communicate that? And also, what am I expecting from this communication? Because that's another thing we have to ask ourselves, and I would have to ask myself, what am I expecting from this communication? People have the right to say no, or people have the right to disagree or misunderstand, but then what? You know what I'm saying? So that's work that I'm going to do. And then the second thing that I'm going to work on is really assessing my energy and asking myself first, do I desire to give? Do I desire to do this? do I desire to fulfill these needs? Because the same way, once I communicate my needs and my desires, the same way the other person has the right to say yes or no, or I can get with that or I can't get with that, which they have the right to do because they have to mind their wellness. I too have to mind my wellness. So, as opposed to bending and flexing as much as I do, I am learning to stand firm. I'm learning to stand firm. We got to remember we are a spirit, we are a part of a universal energy. So, in this moment, I need to be a tree. I need to be a tree, and I can stand firm, bend and flex on occasion when spirit leads me. When that spirit wind blows, I can bend and flex then. But I need to learn to stand firm in my no, stand firm in my wellness space without the mental guilt of I could do it, but so separating that mental from that spirit and standing firm, that's what I'm working on right now. That's what I'm working on. And I wanted to share that because, as I said, I feel like healing is a lifetime journey. Healing is a lifetime journey. And I feel like when people start their healing journey, they feel overwhelmed, right? They start to feel like, oh, it's so much I got to do, it's so much I need to work on. A lot of people feel very, very overwhelmed when they start their healing journey. And I want you all to know that you have to have a healing focus area. You do not have to do everything at one time. You don't. You do not have to do everything at one time. Have one focus area. Is it a physical thing you want to focus on? Is it a mental thing you want to focus on? Is it a spiritual thing or a growth area that you want to focus on? What will be your focus area? And then map out a plan of how you're going to do the work to grow in that focus area. And once you map out that plan, actually start working on it. Once you reach your goal, then you move on to the next area. So what you guys just witnessed is me literally sharing and being open about my focus areas. I just explained to you two things I'm going to focus on during this full moon season. I explained to you exactly how I'm going to do it as far as the journaling work, some questions I'm going to ask myself, and I'm actually going to do this work. So I just wanted to share that with you, family. And I hope that you are harnessing this full moon energy for yourself. In the wellness community, please, please, please read the newsletter. This newsletter is all about capturing not just this full moon energy, but also the new moon energy this month and our principles to practice and how we're manifesting abundance for the month of September and for this new moon cycle that's coming up on the 17th. So please, please, please read the newsletter. And if you are not in the wellness community, please, just like really take the time to identify what is your focus area. What is your area that you're going to focus on? Where do you want to grow? How do you want to grow? What is your plan to grow in those areas? One thing at a time, family. One thing at a time. You do not have to do it all at one time. Okay. And you should constantly have a focus area. You should constantly have one thing. So, my question for you all, and you don't have to share it, if you don't want to, if you don't desire, but my question is, what is your focus area? What is your focus area? What is that thing that you want to work on? And you can meditate on it, think about it. What is something that you've received confirmation about, something that you want to do better? Look for signs, look for omens in the universe, whatever is hitting you. What is going to be your focus area for this cycle? What are you working on for this cycle? And map out a plan and then start doing the work. And then we could check back in. I'll keep y'all updated on, how I'm feeling and like how I'm working, how I'm growing in my focus area, if I'm growing in my focus area, because I'll keep it real and say, y'all, like, this ain't working. I realize this is just who I am and I don't know what to do. And I'll be in a wellness community group chat like, y'all, I need some advice, but really like, have your healing focus area and decide what you are working on today. So let me go back and read some of y'all comments. Shout out to Orange Moon. I appreciate you. Such a dope moderator. Overly accommodating. Absolutely, Orange Moon. That's exactly what it was. Overly accommodating. Kristen Blake, you new to my channel. Thank you. You was invited by Elegant Granny TV. Hey, Elegant Granny TV. A subconscious limiting belief. Absolutely. Absolutely, Tatiana. A subconscious limiting belief. Um, you're a giver as well. Absolutely. And you're learning not to require what you give. That's so true. Because the thing is, like, the energy that we put out is returned unto us, but it's not always returned to you by the person that you give it to. Most of the times, it's not returned to you by the person that you give it to. Because if you had to give it to them, 9 times out of 10, they didn't have it to give. You know what I'm saying? If you had to give it to them, they don't have it to give back. You had to give it to them. So that energy will return in multiple ways. Um, but I'm realizing that, like, sometimes also I don't have to give. I don't have to give. That's like the thing that I'm working on. I don't always have to give. I don't have to do it. We often fall into a pattern of wanting more for others than they want. Absolutely, we must examine our intentions. Are we moving in spirit? Yes, Sheila Smith. I love that. This is my life lesson. Self love, give to myself over everyone. I'm a nurse and I give and give when I feel good. Absolutely, Miss J. Thank you for being a nurse. Thank you for that work. As soon as I feel bad, I realize I've given too much and have to step back and regain my power. But then I repeat the process. You know what, Miss J? And that's why I said I thought I was doing better. Um, because you're right, like that you step back and then you realize, you realize that you've done too much. You said when you start to feel bad, you realize you've done too much. But we shouldn't have to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have to get to that point. I realized that, I would get to the point of being fed up. I would get to the point of being fed up. I would get to the point of feeling bad. I would get to the point of feeling empty. You know what I'm saying? And we should not get to that point. If we get to that point, then that's once again, we got to look within ourselves. And we got to realize that we are the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I do? Wow, how did I get here? What can I do better the next time so that I don't become empty? I don't want to be an empty cup. I can't be an empty cup. You know, I can't give, give, give until I feel bad. I can't wait until I'm fed up to finally speak up. That whole, like, when a woman's fed up theory. And I thought that, especially when it comes to setting boundaries, as I spoke about before, I thought that I was doing better by having consequences to my boundary. But my biggest consequence was to walk away. I would just walk away. But I realized that, like, I would walk away after giving so many passes, so many passes, so many passes. But when the line was crossed the first time, I just gave a pass. I didn't say anything. There was no consequence. There was no discussion. I would just restate the boundaries. Hey, friend. Hey, sis. Hey, bro. Hey, babe. I ain't like that. Okay, can you please do this? Can you please do that? Restating the boundary. I would just like it. Can y'all please just not, restating the boundary again and again and again. And then after a while, I'll just be like, you know what, I'm tired of this and I'm done. And I would just walk away from relationships. But it shouldn't get to that point. I shouldn't get to the point of fed up before I fully explain exactly how I'm feeling. I wouldn't communicate how that made me feel. When you do this to me, it makes me feel disrespected. When you do this to me, it hurts my feelings. When you do this to me, it makes me feel undervalued. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't communicate those emotions. You know what I'm saying? And then also asking myself, why do you keep allowing this? So that just took a lot of work, but I truly feel like it shouldn't take for us getting to the point where we feel drained, we feel empty, we feel, broken. Because if you keep bending, you keep bending, you keep bending, eventually you're going to break. Eventually you will break. And that's why I said something I want to work on is standing firm. Standing firm. It's okay to bend when spirit leads, but I was bending when my mind was leading. Once again, because of that societal conditioning, because society said that we need to nurture, we need to cater for, we need to care for, which an aspect of that is true when you are tapped into the divine feminine, but the divine feminine is a spirit thing and it's balanced out with that sacred masculine, which is the logic. So you got to be logical when it comes to your divine feminine, when it comes to how much you're willing to give and nurture and distribute, you still got to be logical in that. And the logic in that is asking, is my spirit leading me to do this? Is my spirit leading me to do this? That's the logic in asking that. And once again, that's the work that I'm doing right now. That's my focus area for right now. Fundamental attribution error. Hey, Mansa. I saw your comments too. Much love to you, Mansa. How you doing? Manta. I hope I said Manta, like Manta Musa. Tamika said, wow, needed to hear this, sis. I was thinking about it. I've been thinking about it. So we needed to hear this. Shout out to Chrisette Michelle for that live this morning. I hope she posted on her page. Eventually you'll burn out too and become resentful. Absolutely, Orange Moon. Absolutely. That burnout could be real. Childhood wounds for me to try to help and heal other people. Yes, Miss J, that's definitely childhood wounds, because we're conditioned from children to be this way. Fundamental attribution error is the tendency people have to overemphasize personal characteristics and ignore situational factors in judging others' behavior. Okay, I like that. Fundamental attribution error. The tendency people have to overemphasize personal characteristics and ignore situational factors in judging others' behavior. And see, ignoring those situational factors is kind of like suppressing that sacred masculine energy, because that's the logic, right? Paying attention to the situational factors, um, paying attention to the truth within someone's character, that divine feminine will rationalize bullshit, basically. Elegant Granny said, completely get it, sis. That's the question I had to ask myself years ago. Really, Elegant Granny? So what did you think when you did that work and you asked yourself those questions? What did you what conclusion did you come to? What work did you do? I love hearing about other people's journey, especially like if it's a focus area that I'm working on right now. I love hearing about other people's journey and like the work that they did to get through it. I feel like I'm shining. I am. Self-evaluation is key. Absolutely. You've been feeling burnt out from pouring out for myself. Absolutely, Regina. Self-evaluation is key. We shouldn't get to the point of burnout. We can't allow ourselves to get to the point out. Does Reiki help? Miss J, yes, Reiki helps. I'm a licensed master Reiki practitioner. Reiki does help. Reiki is super duper helpful for a variety of reasons. I could do a whole video on Reiki. Reiki is like such a beautiful healing practice. However, I will say, and you can also do Reiki on yourself, but I will say, um, Reiki is best done if you're going to have it done by someone else. Reiki is best done when it's done by a person who is in a space of holistic wellness, right? Because it's all about energy movement and it's all about transferring and transmuting energy. So you want to be very, very mindful of who you have do Reiki on you in the space that they're in that moment, okay? Because you really, really open up your energy to that person, right? You really open up your energy to that person and you don't want to, you don't want to transfer anything that you don't really want to take home with you, if that makes sense. But you can also do Reiki on yourself. And Reiki is also good to do during the full moon ceremony. If you want to align your chakras, you want to charge or balance out a specific chakra, you can do Reiki on yourself, using crystals and things like that, depending on the chakra. But that's like a whole thing. Brandy Michelle, most people are only thinking of themselves, so they don't recognize that you are giving them what you want in return. Absolutely, Brandy Michelle. Absolutely. And honestly, something I'm asking myself, and this is just truly a contemplation. I don't know the answer, but are they wrong for that? Like that's really what I was asking myself recently. Like, are other people wrong for that? Are they wrong? Because I found myself in situations where people had no problem telling me what they want. They have no problem telling me what they desire, right? Is that bad? I don't think so. Right? They have no problem saying like, I need this, or I want this, or can you do this, or can you do that? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't I don't ask this much of you. I don't I don't understand. And then when I do ask it, I get a no, right? I get a no. But who's wrong in that situation? Are they wrong for communicating their desires and their wants and their needs? Are they wrong for standing firm in their no when they don't feel like doing something? Or are they wrong? Or am I wrong for not doing the same? Am I wrong for not communicating my wants and my needs? You know what I'm saying? Am I wrong? Because then there's not reciprocity in the relationship. But I could be the one who's not giving the reciprocity because I'm not stating my needs and my wants. And once again, that's when we got to be introspective and be real. You know, I could easily say, "Oh, there's not reciprocity because you're not loving me the way I need to be loved, or you're not doing for me what I would do for you." But I could also say, are you doing what they would do? And it's not about matching energy, right? It's not about matching energy. It's not like, oh, somebody did something bad to me, so I'm gonna do something bad to them. No, because what I'm realizing is that's not a bad thing. Stating what you desire and what you need is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Stating what you desire and what you need is not a bad thing whatsoever. That is something that I'm realizing. It does not make you demanding. It does not make you like not compassionate or not caring or anything. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. And for me, that's why I said I feel like it was a lot of societal conditioning. Because for me, I felt like me saying what I needed and what I desired was asking for too much. I was asking for too much. And as a Black woman, we can't ask for too much. You know what I'm saying? We can't be too demanding because you're doing too much. You got an attitude. You want too much. Oh, damn, you're doing too much. And who wants to be doing too much? You know what I'm saying? But I had to realize that asking for what I need and asking for what I desire is not me doing too much. It's okay to say, I want this because nobody has a problem coming to us and saying what they need from us. Nobody has a problem asking us for what they need, putting in their requests, or just doing what they want. Nobody has a problem, but for some reason, as Black women, we've been taught to bend. We've been taught to bend and to cater and to suppress our own needs and desires. And I'm breaking out of that shit. I really am. I am breaking out of that in relationships in my life, people in my life, and even with myself. I'm starting with myself by once again doing that journaling work and asking myself, what is it that you want and that you need and you desire? And I'm not talking about like on some petty stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like be petty, but sometimes it does start with the little things like I was talking to an older sister who had raised children, and she said that she realized that she doesn't even know what she likes to eat because she was taught to be a good wife and a good mother. And being a good wife and a good mother looked like her asking her husband and her children, what do y'all want to eat? Well, now the kids are out the house. Her and her husband got a divorce. And this sister said she don't even know what she likes to eat because it's been years since she asked herself, what do you want for dinner? What are you craving for dinner? And actually fix the shit without anybody else's opinions. You know what I'm saying? That's how deep it goes. That's how deep that catering mentality, that bending mentality goes, where we will nurture, 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 and care for to the point that you don't even check in with yourself anymore and ask yourself, what do I desire in this moment? What do I need or what do I want in this moment? I don't want to get there. I don't want to get to the point that I don't know myself because I'm giving and doing and bending and flexing to help everybody else feel comfortable. I don't want to get to that point. So that's why I said I want to do work on this focus area before I even get there. Let's nip it in the bud early, right? Early, before I have children. Okay? Before I have children, let's nip this in the bud early. Okay? Um, your area is physical. Hope said my area is physical. Grand Rising, Tanika. Needed to hear this today. Shout out to Crystal Jones. How do you deal with family guilt for saying no? Um, that's the honestly, I'm working through that, like working through the mental guilt, regardless if it's friends, family, anything. I think more guilt is an internal thing. It's more of a mental thing, right? It's a guilt is something that we feel out of because we feel obligated, right? So guilt is something that we have to work on. You know, people will try to make us feel guilty, but accepting the guilt is once again being introspective. That's on us. So we have to go within and do that work to really assess, why do I feel guilty? And honestly, we should not feel guilty for choosing us. We shouldn't feel guilty for choosing ourselves. You said you also knew nothing is by accident. Shout out to Dana Nicole here. Many don't know how to return it. They've been selfish for so long. Absolutely, Orange Moon. That's so true. I was raised to be a giver, and it's a blessing and an issue when people take advantage of me giving. Absolutely. Listening to you always helped me with guiding me in the right direction. Oh, whenever I feel lost, I come straight to your YouTube page, and this live is everything I needed today. Thank you. So much love, Shaquana. I appreciate that energy. Thank you so much. Thank you. I needed to hear this word. Thank you. Thank you, Courtree. I like that, Courtree. I'm starting to resent others around me, but the issue is me. Yes, Tamika. Yes. And we don't want to get to that space where we start resenting other people around us. You know what I'm saying? We start resenting the people who are in our space because we got to do the work. Once again, the healing work is within. It's about being introspective. Do you have any advice on how to cultivate our sacred masculine? I find myself letting things slide and essentially giving the benefit of the doubt instead of standing firm in my decisions. Okay, Courtney. So, in regards to the sacred masculine, I'm gonna go live tonight. I'll be live about 6:15, 6:30. I'm gonna say 6:15 because we're gonna start the Zoom meeting and we're gonna talk and kind of establish things at 6 o'clock. So I should be live by 6:15. But I'm going live with a brother on spirituality. So the title will be Black Man on Spirituality, and we're gonna talk about the sacred masculine. So that's when we'll dive deep into the conversation with the sacred masculine. I promised y'all that I was gonna come back with a conversation on sacred masculine. So the brother tonight, we're gonna talk about spirituality from his perspective. He's done a lot of like spiritual work within himself, and he's actually taken the Native American path of spirituality. So he does like vision quest, and he has really like done a lot to dig into like Native American ancestry and stuff like that. So I want to tap into that conversation with him. And then he's very big on, Black men channeling their divine feminine and balancing out with their sacred masculine. And then I'll share with the sisters what the women can do to balance out our sacred masculine and our divine feminine, and how that balances out and comes together to create a dynamic relationship. So that live will be tonight, starting about 6:15. Okay, so I'll announce it in the wellness community when we get started, and we'll have the whole sacred masculine conversation tonight on my YouTube. Do you think it's necessary to return to those you have walked away from? Hell no. Rashidi Lewis said no. Do you think it's necessary to return to those you have walked away from? No. Now you can. You can. You can. And I'll just give a quick little anecdote about that. For myself, I had a friend, and we are actually gonna have a conversation about this too. I don't know if I want to do this in person or do this via Zoom, but a friendship that we it was this type of situation where I was giving, and I realized that this sister, she shown signs of doing little things that showed that she didn't have my wellness in her interest. You know what I'm saying? She didn't want what was best for my wellness at all, and was actually actively working against my wellness. And I can say this because we've had this conversation and she admitted it, right? So I walked away from that friendship, right? It was a friendship of about maybe 5 or 6 years. I walked away from that friendship, and years later, she called me and she apologized. And she had been doing some healing work. She had been going to therapy and she had been doing some healing work. And I was like, okay, I forgive you, no hard feelings, but I ain't gonna refuck with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't about to be back in my life. I ain't gonna refuck with you. Well, a couple more years had passed, and we ended up running into each other when I went back down south. We ran into each other, and we had a long conversation. And I really, I just realized that she's really been doing this work, and she's really been working on herself. And since then, we're friends again. You know what I'm saying? So we have rebuilt that connection, and we talk almost every day. You know what I'm saying? And I have invited her back into my life, but I also have another friendship that is no more, and I will never. I'm not gonna say, never say never, but as of right now, I'm not revisiting that friendship. So I had a friendship that I've ended, and we reconnected once I saw that she was really doing the work, and and really for me a large part of it was her admitting to it. You know what I'm saying? Not too many people will admit and take accountability for their shit. And she took accountability for her shit. You know what I'm saying? Cuz sometimes people try to make you feel like you crazy. Like they'll try to make you feel like you imagining stuff. Like, yo, you really do not have my wellness at the forefront of your intention. Like your intention is not conducive to my wellness at all. Actually, your intention is to work against my wellness. Very rarely will somebody actually sit in your face and say, yo, I really wanted to fuck up your life. I really didn't want you to do well. Very rarely. So for her to take accountability and be able to admit that, like, yo, I didn't. And it was for these reasons. And I went to therapy and I realized this. You got to really be doing some work to take that level of accountability. And I respect that. I respect that. And I also have compassion and empathy. I know some people probably like, what? Somebody told you that they didn't want what was best for you and you got cool with them again? Yeah, because you know what I have the empathy for? I have the empathy for, being in the space of you're not your best self. You know what I'm saying? That sister didn't know who she was at the time. And because she didn't know who she was, how can you value what you have in your life? And how can you value the people that you have in your life? You know what I'm saying? You can't value what you don't understand. You can't understand someone who is wellness centered if you're not wellness centered. So you're going to reject that energy. You're going to reject that energy. And sometimes rejecting that energy will look like you doing subliminal harm to that person, even if you don't even understand the impact of the harm that you're trying to do. That's what it looks like. So for you to come back and take accountability, I respect it. But would I give everybody that same opportunity? I'm always willing to listen. I'm always willing to have a conversation. I don't have, first of all, I ain't had that many issues with people in my life. So thank God I haven't had to cut off that many people. I could literally count on one hand, or really less than one hand, how many people in my life I've had to completely cut off. And there's literally only two people that I'm just like, not, it would never, like right now, no. And that's really because there has been no accountability. No accountability. So for me, I do feel like you can have like and re-invite someone into your life, but I also feel like, there needs to be a good communication, clear accountability, and just definitely be mindful, to look for true change, true patterns of change. Pay when someone shows you who they are, believe them. So trust their behavior, trust those patterns of behavior. Shout out to Kazim and Antoine when we did the Black Men on Healing, the live with Black Men on Healing, and they talked about those patterns of behaviors. We have to trust that. Trust those patterns of behavior. So when someone shows you who they are, believe them. If they showed you a pattern of not changing and a pattern of still being who they were when they hurt you, don't go back. But if they've shown a pattern that they've changed and your spirit leads you to accept them back in your life, accept them back in your life. Brandy Michelle said, wait, hold on. Elegant Granny said, as I asked myself those questions, I realized I had respect for other people's boundaries and not my own. Ooh, this led to a personal revolution in setting and enforcing them. Really helped with my healing. Uh, Elegant Granny, let me read that again. She said, as I asked myself those questions, I realized I had respect for other people's boundaries and not my own. This led me to a personal revolution of setting and enforcing them. Really helped with my healing. So, ooh, respecting other people's boundaries and not your own. And that really is the issue, is that I think that I just don't respect. I don't know why I'm so shiny right here today. Ooh, I don't know. Let me get my life together. I'm out here just looking crazy online. Don't be looking like that. Lord, I ain't got no type of nothing. Okay, here we go. Y'all didn't tell me I was dripping. Excuse me. I took a shower, y'all. I took a shower this morning, okay? I don't know why. Jesus. Anyway. So, but yeah, like not respecting your own boundaries, respecting other people's boundaries and not your own. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Respecting your own boundaries. I definitely think that's some internal work I got to work on. Thank you for that, elegant granny. Rashidi Lewis, because I have a friend who I think means well, but doesn't know how to care for me the way I need, even after we talk about the errors. Listen, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. You answered your own question. You could think that they mean well, but if they're showing you time and time again, even after you explain time and time again what you need and what you desire, and they showing you that they have no desire to meet those needs, it may be time to sever that relationship or reshape it, as Antoine said. We don't always have to cut people off. Sometimes we just need to reshape that relationship. So it may be time to reshape that relationship. Brady Michelle, I wrote in my journal this morning that I was grateful that I understand that I am not obligated to anyone. And also, I'm grateful that I know I will be okay if they realize they are not obligated to me. I love that. Sanaa, I like that. I like how you say your name. I hope I'm saying it right. Sanaa Bea. I'm going through the same kind of situation myself, Rashidi. It's like I'm doing so much when it comes time for me to receive. It's like I'm talking to a brick wall and the confusion arises. Thank you, thank you, I appreciate your love. Thank you so much, Jay. Guilt is a big issue. Focus areas are commitment and anger management. Thank you for sharing that, Latinika. Commitment and anger management. That haterism is real. Come on, that hateration. Shout out to Mary. Hateration, holleration in this dancery. Thank you, Orange Moon. You are a star, shine. Thank you. I appreciate that. You had to cut off lots of family. Listen, it's real out here. It's real. And sometimes, we got to cut off lots and lots of family. Also, you guys, I'm at 8,000 subscribers. I just scrolled down and saw it again. I'm at 8,000 subscribers. I'm going to do a separate live about that, though, like an 8,000 subscriber live celebration. And we'll talk about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like how I did with the 7,000. And, we just go live and I'll just do a Q&A and y'all can ask me whatever y'all want to ask me. And talk about spirituality and mental wellness and locks or whatever y'all want to ask me. Also, y'all, I got some changes with my locks. I noticed that with the end of one of my locks, I'll show y'all when I'm in much better lighting too. It's raining here, so we ain't got no good daylight like that. So I got my other little backlight on. But yeah, I'm gonna show y'all one of my locks, you guys. I'm gonna show y'all where a piece had got a little thing, and it's one of them, and I had to do some work. So I'll show y'all that. So I'm gonna do an 8,000 live. But tune back in tonight, y'all, for the live Black Man on Spirituality. It'll be with the brother. I did a live with him. We'll talk about all that on the live, but we're gonna talk about his spiritual journey, him taking the Native American spiritual path as a Black man and why he chose to do that. Understanding Native American ancestry and roots and some of their practices, vision questing. We're going to talk about, how his spiritual journey impacted his love life. We'll also talk about the sacred masculine and all that other good stuff and how, his spiritual journey is impacted by his sacred masculine and divine feminine balance, especially as a man. And all that other good stuff. Okay, so he's a pretty dope brother. We'll see tonight. We'll be live about 6:15. I'll put it in the wellness community when we go live. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate that. I'm reading Royal Bass's comment. I had to cut off my mother. She's very toxic and I'm pregnant right now. In the quarantine, it's been hard for me not having that support on my side. First off, I'm sending you a lot of love, Royal Bassett, a lot of love. Um, I know, I know what that's like from personal experience of having to, you know, release that relationship, especially with the mother. I had to release my relationship with my mother, and recognize that, it just wasn't a healthy situation. So I know that energy. Um, and honestly, my advice to you would be to open yourself up to mamas. I've been blessed to have an abundance of mamas in my life where that mother energy, that mama energy comes to me in the form of many elders. Many elders. I have friends who have mothers who love me like I'm their daughter. My big sister, Queen Imani Latifa, we always talk about her mama, Mama Sheila, and she's one of my mamas. You know what I'm saying? Having strangers come up to me in the street, elder women, and do motherly things and give me random motherly advice. So although you may not have a relationship with your mothers, start putting the energy out there, honoring your mamas, and your mamas will be sent to you from the universe in the form of aunties and cousins and strangers and mothers friends, and your friends mamas and all of that stuff. That energy will come to you. You know what I'm saying? Give gratitude for it already. Give gratitude for that wisdom, that elder wisdom, that help, that enlightenment. Give gratitude for all of that, and that energy will return unto you, abundantly, abundantly, and many blessings and much love on your pregnancy, during this quarantine time, especially. I'm a doula, so assisting women who are carrying and who are, in the process of really internally nurturing a child. I'm sending much love to you and much life for you, and make sure you care for yourself and put your wellness first. You know, um, don't overly contemplate, toxic things, because you don't want that energy to pass to your child. Hey, Moni love. But yeah, Royal Bastard, you don't want the energy to pass to your child. So just be very mindful of the thoughts that you dwell on. Send your mother love energy and wish her wellness. And if you release her, truly release her, something you may have to do, and it's a full moon, so it's a good time to do this, is do a burning ceremony. Do a burning ceremony. And what you want to do, what you could do is, I'll share for you the burning ceremony that I did to heal from my relationship and the trauma from my experiences with my mother. What I did was, in my gratitude journal, because I keep a gratitude journal, in my gratitude journal, I listed everything I was grateful for my mother, everything I was grateful for, everything that I was grateful that she taught me, showed me, everything from her collard green recipe to her crazy, wild sex talk that she had with me. I'll share that in another live. Her crazy, wild sex talk that she had with me. That was a good laugh. So moments like that, I wrote in my gratitude journal, from the littlest things to the big things. And then I did, on a separate piece of paper, not in my gratitude journal, on a separate piece of paper, I wrote down, and honestly, y'all, you can do this activity, this release ceremony, for anybody in your life who is toxic, anybody in your life who is toxic, any energy you want to release. I did a gratitude list in my gratitude journal, everything I was grateful for from that relationship. On a separate piece of paper, I wrote a list of the trauma, the things that hurt me, the things that made me angry, the things that I resented, the trauma, the hurt, the pain, the moments that I will never forget. I wrote just listed everything on a separate sheet of paper. And I released all the emotions. I cried when I needed to cry. I allowed myself to feel all the feelings, and I released everything. And then I burned that shit. I burned it. Full moon nights, full moon nights, stood under the full moon, and I burned it. I burned it. So you can get you a little pot. In that pot, you put some basil in there, some sage in there if you have it. You can use rosemary for protection, okay? But you want to light that first in the pot. Stand over the pot, and you burn that paper, burn that trauma, release all of that, release it, burn it, burn it. Afterwards, you take you a spiritual bath, okay? Run you a spiritual bath. You clean your bathroom from corner to corner. You fill up your bathtub. As the water is running, you can add some more basil, a little more rosemary. You can put some Epsom salt or some a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt, preferably Epsom salt if you have it. Pour some coconut milk in there, some fresh coconut milk. Pour some coconut milk in there, or you can use coconut water if you have coconut water. Put that in there. Put a little bit of honey for that love, that Oshun energy. That coconut milk is for Obatala, who brings clarity, who brings peace. You want to have a little bit of okra, maybe some kale. Shout out to Bree, who brought up the kale in the wellness community. Put a little bit of kale in there for that Ogun energy. You could put some fresh plantain in there for that Shango energy, for that justice. That Ogun energy is that heart chakra, opening up your heart to love and new energy. You put some plantain in there for that Shango energy. And you really just want to make sure that you drench yourself in that water. Drench yourself in that water. Drench yourself in that water. Really submerge yourself in that water. Okay. Light you a white candle. You could light a yellow candle or a green candle, a blue candle for that yay yay, that mothering energy, and really just sit there, sit in that spiritual bath and release any emotions you need to release. And then you get up and you pat dry. You rub down in your favorite body oil or body butter. You put your little smell good scents on and you dress in something white. Dress in something white. And you go to sleep and you rest. And you rest. And that's it. Okay. So try that under this full moon energy. You have 3 days. Okay. So I know I just gave a lot, but everything I tried to give for the recipe for everything that you can get out the grocery store. Okay. So I didn't name any herbs that you cannot find in your grocery store, anything that you can't find in your grocery store. Okay. So go to your grocery store, get these items, and make that spiritual bath for that release ceremony and to open up those chakras. You really want to focus on that solar plexus, that heart, and that root chakra for this activity, okay? And everything I named is for that. Okay, so that's the Obatala, that's your Ogun. Your Obatala is your throat. That's your throat is your communication. Okay, your communication. So that Obatala energy, you want to have that Ogun energy, that heart chakra, opening up that heart, that love, that solar plexus chakra. Then you want to have that root chakra intact. Okay, that warrior energy, that compassion, that sacred masculine energy. Okay, so take that bath, dress in white, and you get you some rest. Get you some rest and you release that energy. Okay, so I'm just sending you a lot of love, Royal Bassett, and anybody who needs to release something. This is a great time to do it, this Pisces full moon. Okay, GC, yes, had to cut my mother off. Now seeing her more as a person with her own traumas. Absolutely. Tried her best with what she had. She sure did, but still got to separate and release. Love from a distance, but truly forgive. Absolutely. She tried her best for what she had. I'm glad you could recognize that. Thanks for dropping by, Demi. Oh, thank you, Orange Moon, for shouting out the community and showing love to the community. I'm going to write them on a bay leaf, absolutely, and burn it in my candle. Okay, now. Okay, now. Thank you, Moni Love. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate your energy. Thank you for watching. And, feel free to, I'm going to post this so that y'all can come back. I know I gave a lot of ingredients for the spiritual bath, so y'all can come in and rewind to that part so you can make your little grocery store list and take everything for your spiritual bath. But once again, this is a Pisces full moon. You have 3 days. You have 3 days after the peak of the full moon, which the peak of the full moon was today, September 2nd at 1:22 a.m. So this morning, 1:22 a.m. was the peak of the full moon. So you have 3 days after this in order to, really, really do this full moon work and capture this full moon energy, okay? And also make y'all some moon water. Moon water is good for manifesting. So to make the moon water, you could just fill up a jar or fill up your favorite glass with some purified water and sit it under the full moon and bring it in before the sun comes up. And this moon water is great for manifesting. You can use the moon water to make tea, to take a spiritual bath, wash your hair, wash your body, cleanse your aura and all of that good stuff, and to manifest anything you desire, or you could put it on your altar and use it. You can make spirit water with your moon water, anything, okay? So make y'all some moon water and capture this energy, all right, family? Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Much love, much light, much abundance to you. Peace.